our SahdCast, Josh Musser.
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
Awesome having Josh here. Josh is, why don't you explain your title and what you do?
Yeah, I'm the general manager for SA Alloys, which is owned and operated by SA Recycling. We're their one and only ingot maker, or first ingot maker anyway. And, job title,
Well,
yeah.
The official job title and what you do is probably two different things.
Yeah, it is. But I follow the market, set prices for the scrap that we buy, which dictates the ingot that we sell, prices that we go with that. Prepare all the scrap, melt the ingot down, ship it to the customers and their specifications. That's kind of the simple side
Absolutely.
of things. Yeah.
So as a company, so everyone understands, explain SA just in general. This is not where they started. It's just a branch of the business, but it's a big one. Just explain the company for everyone.
So SA Recycling, they started out with a few yards out west, I guess Adams Steel, and they had partnered with Sims, so Sims Adams, which is the SA, and over the years they grew to over 90 scrap yards across the United States, primarily based out of the West Coast, but they do have some Southeast yards as well. They acquired a few new yards this year alone down in Florida. So SA's just been growing as far as a large scrap company. They continue to do so. So they took a little bit of leap of faith and went into the ingot side to kind of close their recycling circle. And now we're up and operating and producing and selling a few million pounds of ingot every month.
Which is excellent, and from the perspective, who knows where anyone is listening from today, but from the perspective of a local, and local being Colombia, Pennsylvania, this plant, why don't you give a little history, because you've kind of been here. Yeah. This was here and it wasn't here, and a lot of jobs weren't here for a little while.
Correct.
So this is huge.
It is huge. It's big for Colombia, definitely, one of the larger manufacturing plants in Colombia. June of 18, Colonial Metals company went out of business. They shut their doors, and at that time we had roughly 85 employees between management and hourly employees, and the plant sat vacant till January of 2019, where it started out as a joint venture between SA Recycling and California Metal X, and they had partnered and came in together, and then in February of 2020. Due to several reasons, SA Recycling bought CMX out of the partnership, and now we're fully owned and operated by SA Recycling. Colonial Metals was in business over 75 years. Right. Big company, big ingot maker. Well, world renowned. Definitely in the U.S. at the time.
And basically, kind of tracking the industrialization of the country and this town. Colombia with the river and the highways and all the assets was a huge industrial spot, and kind of trying to build back to that. We've been around for probably 75 years, so kind of tracking that.
Yeah.
But it's just great to have that renewal, because everyone talks about jobs in America, and it's all talk until there's actually jobs for people.
Yes.
Good paying jobs, high skilled jobs. One of the interesting things to me is just visually seeing you and seeing me in the outfits we wear. I think sometimes I was in advertising for 15 years, and when I came back to our family business, people were looking at me like, what the heck are you gonna do? Like, you're gonna work in a yard? You're gonna do what? And I was listening to your job description that you just rattled through. Your business, your operations, your everything here. And why don't you, for kids listening who are looking for being in manufacturing and all that, just talk a little bit about your track, how you got to this place, and how you're able to combine that strong hard work ethic with the business sense to come up with something, a career.
Yeah, I went to college at Millersville University. I studied economics. I was a dual major, economics, biology, minored in chemistry.
Gosh, you did the hard courses.
I did the fun stuff.
I was communications. Yeah. I was like, we were a C+ major. You did the hard stuff. Why did you do that?
Well, I was headed for corporate law at the time,
What?
or environmental law. was the goal.
Wow.
But you know, found a girl that I liked. We got married and wanted to start a family. And throughout college, I paid my way through college. I worked, 40, 50 hours.
Where did you work?
I worked in a multitude of places. I worked at Burke Tech in New Holland, making networking cable. I worked at Superior Wall, building the precast walls.
Oh.
I did construction, lines and hole, laying pipe, as a pipe layer.
So everything I hear here is built. It's obvious where it's building.
It's building, yeah, from the get-go. You have to learn to work in order to learn the discipline, to show up, be on time, to be there every day, and to care about what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And when I graduated, near graduation, I was looking for jobs, and Colonial Metals was hiring, and it worked out. It worked out great. It was in manufacturing, which I had some experience in just from.
What was your first full-time job? The title, the actual title.
I was a management trainee for Colonial Metals. Yeah, that was my first full-time, real job. And I came in, I went through every department, spent a couple months in every department, shipping, receiving, foundry, front office, learning paperwork. And that's what I did really for probably the first 10 months to a year, was just bouncing around before they found a home for me at the time. And I fell in love with scrap.
Mm-hmm.
You learn something new every day, you see something new every day, and that's really what I fell in love with. It wasn't monotonous. There's always something new.
Right.
So,
and you can always pay more for scrap, right?
Yeah, you can always pay more.
You can choose not to, but
Yes.
I can choose not to sell too.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. The prices are you can fill a warehouse very quickly if you're the highest payer.
Right.
But no, so that's how I got into Colonial Metals. And honestly, there was a time when I looked at it and I said, man, I don't know that I'm going to do this for the rest of my life or for the foreseeable future. Colleges teach you, you should get out, find a desk job, makes X amount of money, working, 8 to 5, and that's just not the reality in today's economy for most people.
It can be for some, and it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
It's what I like about it, and that's why one day I asked you the actual job titles. We have one of our junkyard blogs here, Carrie, and it's just good for people to see that there's an actual, you were in a training program, a 10-month training program, which showed you everything, and then you could figure out where your niche was best.
Yes.
That's invaluable. That combined with your work during college,
yes.
it all led you here.
It all led to this.
Every
point.
experience.
Yes, everything you learn, and I think that's an important part of it is being willing to learn it, being willing to do it. Don't turn down the opportunities that are presented to you. Just take it and take it for what it's worth.
Absolutely.
A learning experience.
You mentioned showing up, and I think as we have with our crew these days, and I'm sure you tell your young ones this even at home, just showing up is like 80%.
It is, absolutely.
If you can just have that discipline.
Yeah, absolutely. It's getting out of bed, getting ready,
right.
and making it in, and it's things that I think that you had. People in the past knew that was their responsibility to be at work, be on time, and I think we need to enforce that from kids young,
right,
all the way to the working age at this point.
Poor Logan and Amaya are going to be.
Oh, they get up with me. They're.
Oh, so on that note,
yeah.
And by the way, this is Josh is actually my neighbor, and he kind of inspired me, but I didn't do anything with it. You wake up at what time to run?
I wake up at 3 a.m.
Okay, that's
on
great.
the weekdays. Yes.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
And you run how long?
3 miles.
Oh, that's all.
Yeah,
okay.
Just 3 miles.
Good.
25,
cross
30
country,
minutes.
right, Carrie? Cross country.
Yeah.
That's 3.1 miles, I think.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So with now, very interestingly, so just thinking about this, your bosses are on the West Coast.
Yep.
Your market bosses are on the East Coast because the CME that's constantly Comex is constantly going, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So you're constantly kind of in a sense on-ish.
Yeah. Generally from 5 o'clock in the morning is really when emails and stuff start coming in, probably till 8, 9 o'clock at night. For
you're hitting both coasts.
Yes, because the West Coast, if they follow up with anything, then that's what we're working.
How have you trained yourself to, because obviously you get sleep at some point, I think.
Yes.
You do need sleep, right?
Yes, yeah, a solid 4 or 5 hours is.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is an impressive discipline. The exercise thing, I have no interest in exercise. I need to be playing a game. Like, I have less than no interest in running.
Yeah.
So maybe sometime you could like just knock my door and see if I'll wake up and run. But 3 a.m. is excessive, I think.
It is a little excessive, but it's you have to find time to meet your goals, and as in anything, and you have goals here at work, and you have goals at home, and goals with your family, and I think it's just like budgeting your money.
Mm-hmm.
You have to budget your time.
That's
if
awesome.
If you want it, you have to fit it in.
All right, well, I might work on that, sort of. I don't know. I do have a list of questions I need to ask you. Tell me, so we've talked a little bit about overview of the company. Let's just talk specifically metals, so people have an understanding of what you guys, what your role is, what you create, what your products are, and where they're sold.
Yeah. So what we create to begin with is brass and bronze ingot.
What's an ingot?
An ingot it's a solid piece of metal. We'll see some pictures later, I guess, but it's kind of the shape of a brick, right? And
like how much an ingot of copper or brass would weigh? Like 20 pounds?
20 to 25 is
okay.
The average ingot size, depending on the alloy and density versus zinc contained and everything like that. So 20 to 25 pounds, and we pour these ingots into customer specifications by generally it's CDA, your Copper Development Association specs, but certain foundries have certain tweaks for what they like for the sweet spots in casting. So we smelt, we buy the scrap, whether it's red brass, copper, yellow brass, pipe, turnings, clip, drosses, slags, and we analyze the material, or we sort it, or
which is where a lot of the work comes. Because I mean, we sell you some pure material, and then we sell you some mix, the semi-red package, things like that. And you guys actually go through the box and sort, because red brass has a certain amount of tin in it, yellow brass has the zinc component in it, and having that together could really screw you up, obviously.
Yes. If you put it in a furnace, you're either stuck refining it, or you're stuck with possibly 100,000 pounds of metal that's out of spec, and today's market,
crazy.
$380,000, $425,000 in a furnace. Yeah.
Right. That's pressure.
It is. But we have a great sorting program. We have some really great sorters, and any clip, drosses that comes in, we have an assay room where we'll take a sample, we'll melt it down, send it to the lab, get a recovery, oil moisture recovery, and an analysis. So when we calculate our heat cost and our heat chemistry, we have all those variables that we enter in and figure out.
I'm sure everything is down to a science. When you're doing this, what's the most expensive, the most valuable ingot you produce here?
It would be, we do produce some of the nickel-based alloys, so that would be our most expensive. We do make Monels and like 7030 Cooper nickel, 964 casting alloy, and those are the most expensive because of the nickel content, and the lead specs are 0.05 max, so you're using bare bright copper, pure nickel cathode, and then you're putting in nickel columbium, which is rare earth material to get the columbium into spec there. So that is definitely the most expensive alloy.
So purchasing some of these rare, is the hype about the lack of rare earth material real in your world?
It is real in the price side of things.
it's real as far as you can tell.
Yes, it's real in the price side of things. The rare earth that we use is limited. A lot of these heats take maybe 40, 50 pounds, maybe less. So it's
40,
not a
50 pounds in how much?
I'd say 10,000 pounds. So it's not a huge mover. You buy 500, 1,000 pounds. Every 2-3 months, maybe, depending on the need for the alloy.
Has the escalation in that price gone higher as a percentage than the escalation of copper, or has it tracked similarly?
I would say it was similar at this
Okay.
point. At this point, it depends. All the markets are kind of crazy right now. I mean, the LME markets are up and down, copper markets up and down, and they haven't really been trending together that much.
Okay.
For example, there's a tin shortage, right? And the LME tin market is up to 13, down to 12, maybe 11.30, and day to day it's just up and down, which if there's a shortage, you'd think there'd be some stability in the trading side
Right.
of things, but there just hasn't been any.
And it's also, I guess, tonnage. I mean, how much tin is traded versus the other materials? The other the elements we're looking at.
So
from the scrap
tin's
side.
not trading near this at the volumes copper is.
Right.
Right. So I don't know the exact tonnage that they're trading, but there is a lot of volatility.
Yeah,
at
that
least
makes
lately.
that adds to the whole mix of pressures.
Yes. Yes.
Especially when you're dealing, because from a scrap guy's point of view, we have high-end inventory too, but we're not dealing with some of the things you are, and the volume of a mistake or doing it successful, and obviously that's why you have processes, and that's why you guys are doing so well, is because you do it right, but not doing it right can be so expensive.
Very expensive. Very
I
expensive.
mean, you can't afford any of that.
No, nobody can. I mean, knock on wood, we haven't blown any heats. It always comes a time when you do.
This is fake wood.
Yeah, this is fake wood.
Fake, but you knock the heck out of this.
You
if
have
you
to.
need to.
You have to, and it's detrimental, and a lot of it bases down to lead. A lot of the heats. Zinc. If you have too much zinc in a furnace, you can refine it. If you have too much iron, you can refine it. But the lead-free alloys that are really taking everything by storm in the water products, right? Anything water touches,
Yes.
the valves, the meters. A lot of these lead specs are very tight. Very
So, from talking to a scrap dealer, where would lead encroach unknowingly to a scrap dealer? Because from my point of view, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to sell you wheel weights, I'm not going to sell you lead, but where else is lead that I would sell you and not know that there's a decent component of lead in it?
A large part of what we find contamination through dealers in general
Right.
would be
Not our loads.
No,
Our loads
yours
are
yours
perfect.
are great. Yeah, no.
Perfect.
Yeah,
I
we'll
thought I
go
heard
perfect.
perfect.
We'll go perfect.
Okay. Cool.
But no, you tin plated copper wire.
Okay.
There's also the solder plated wire in there, so that can easily get missed and go into a heat, and you'll pick up your trace amount of lead, and it'll just.
So even if if we sell you 300 pounds of what we think is tin plated, which to the naked eye, I mean, tin, silver plated, and I guess what was
The
what one?
like the
solder
solder
plated?
plated. Yes.
That
it's
would
very
just
hard
kill
to see.
you.
Yes, it would kill us. So
Yeah.
it's difficult. We do train our employees to see it.
Right.
Everybody that comes in gets a colorblind test, and it's
I
very
bet they
important.
do.
But we have the Nikon analyzers as well, just to take doubt out of it. But it is a skill to be able to find it and make sure it's not going into these heats, because it takes a very small amount to ruin a 100,000 pound heat.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now thinking about first of all, the initiatives since 2016 really on have been really about rebuilding American manufacturing, made in America, pushing jobs, with the things that look like they're going to happen to incentivize that. When you guys create your ingot, you could be selling it throughout the world.
Yes.
Correct.
Correct.
So explain the type of person who buys that, or the type of company
Yeah,
who
the
buy that.
type of they're all casting companies. They have their own furnaces, but they don't alloy. They want to melt down the ingot, which is already in spec. They might make a ladle add or a small furnace add, maybe phos copper, maybe some sort of
So really go into detail there for people who might not understand that. So I'm thinking to myself, you're creating an ingot for a place that also does the same thing you do, but they aren't able to meet the spec, or it's harder for them to focus on so many specs. Is that the reason?
No, they just worry about casting.
I
For
see.
the most part, they're worried just
Okay.
about casting. So they'll check, to make sure their melt is in spec, that, wherever they bought their ingot, whether it's, let's say,
Right.
Alloys or one of our competitors, they'll check it to make sure it's in spec. but they don't make additions. They don't alloy.
Okay.
So it should be there in spec. They might add like phos to help it pour. They might add some elements to their ladles to help, but they really want just good metal that they melt down, and their primary focus is pouring good castings.
Gotcha.
They don't want to worry about making the metal, slagging it, drossing it. They want good pure ingot, no slag, no dross, melting down to pour into their green sand or whatever type of molding system they have set up.
Okay.
And that's really why the ingot makers why they exist, because these foundries are pumping thousands or of castings out a day to meet their requirements as a casting foundry, where we'll spend 24 hours to make 110 or 120,000 pounds in a furnace. Over that time, they're just pouring castings,
I see.
and making a finished, good or a part that will be finished.
What kind of items from your ingots? What kind of items does for a common consumer? What are they turned into?
A lot of it sprinkler heads, water meters, water valves, boat props, manganese bronze, aluminum bronze for props for boats.
Okay.
There's a lot of electrical components made out of because of conductivity of copper and the alloys. So a lot of electrical components are made for power grid and everything. So
do you find substituting out, like, is that stuff that as an industry for cost, are people subbing out from the higher end alloys to zinc when they can? Well, you mentioned water meters are not, I would assume, but
correct.
But from a person's household point of view, it seems like the stuff just gets cheaper.
It does, but you do see a lot more yellow brass and some cheaper materials, and a lot of that is materials imported or goods imported from the side that we
get a lot of zinc die cast in our yard.
Yes.
From people swearing it's copper, and then we grind it and say it's not yellow. You know, but we get tons of that.
Yes, and a lot of that I think is coming in imported. I mean, there's die casters in the U.S. for sure, but obviously where companies can cut costs and do it, they will. And I think that's important for maintaining companies in the United States as well. But the copper-based alloys, most of our customers that we serve, they want physical characteristics reported. They want it to hit a elongation, a tensile strength. So these are all engineered alloys that they know exactly how it needs to perform and what specifications it needs to be. And really, there's not cost cutting in that.
Right.
They might develop a different alloy. A few years ago, right, 87850 came out. The Eco Brass was a newer alloy.
What's that?
It's a silicon bronze. It's an Eco Brass. You have to have a patent to make it, which we don't really have. We don't have that patent. We don't make that at this point. The patent is expiring. There might be another one following it. So we're keeping our eyes on that as well.
So what was the general drive behind that?
That it was to cheapen. To it, the density of the material is less dense, so you need less weight to complete the same size casting. But again, you're putting in pure metals, even in a silicon bronze. It's going to be bare bright. It's going to be zinc and silicon. It's cheaper to the standpoint of the density side of things. It might pour a little bit easier than some other alloys, depending on setup. But again, that's all dependent on green sand and the foundry setup. Red brass and semi-red alloys are some of the easiest to cast with still today. So each alloy has its own quirks and casting for these foundries, and really there's a lot of intelligence that goes in for them to make a great cast.
A lot of smart people who took biology and chemistry and whatever else you took in college.
Metallurgy and everything. People. Yeah, some very intelligent people.
Oh, absolutely. So, all we have is we got the I did have an Iton, but I pierced the shield so many times, so I had to go with the old classic Delta Olympus. But I love that thing, and it gets me on a level of intelligence close to you, so I have my little gun that tells me. That's all I use.
Yeah, no,
That's a lifesaver
they
for
are.
us
They
here.
are. The Nitons and the XRF analyzers are fantastic.
Absolutely.
And it's a great training resource too, until people can see the colors and understand what
Exactly.
they're looking at as well.
We used to do spark testing at
Yeah.
Metal Recycling,
Yeah.
but you know what? It was never my strength, so I love that gun.
Yeah.
I love that sucker. So, talking about us, our relationship, we're probably 1.5 miles away from each other. I was just thinking about that, and a lot of this is for our Earth Day content that we do to talk about what our industry contributes to the overall ecology, really.
Yeah.
Having a relationship that's 1.5 miles apart, can you just talk about what that does in an industry where we have so many of your end customers 15, 20 miles apart in this area? Just cutting down on freight, cutting down on all of the things people worry about with global warming and things like that. And can just talk about this unique spot where we are in Colombia.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we like to do local business, right? Because we want to support each other and partner together. But more than that, you do have to consider the environment and the CO2 emissions and freight and everything that goes on in that. I mean, recycling in and of itself is a huge contributor to the environment, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, the copper saves, I think recycling copper saves 40 million tons of CO2 a year.
All I know
like
is
16
I
million cars.
I am certain digging in the ground has so many more problems than what we're doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean,
whether it's Peru, I mean, some of the things you read about what happens in really in South America, I think it's been highlighted. I mean, some of the copper fields and how it's left is insane.
It's crazy, and while we're not necessarily mining in Colombia, right? But where are the people? Where's scrap metal going to go? I mean, landfill space is limited. You don't want excessive metals getting into the groundwater or the ground yet again. So with your side of being able to buy scrap from the public, from companies, from industries after it's been used and done and over, and then selling it to myself, where we can turn it back into another good product. I mean,
absolutely,
it's a full circle turnaround.
And we're blessed, really in our area, because we have Donsko across the river, we have Anvil right here, we have the Buck locally. I mean, really, you can't get any better than that. And just from a freight cost savings, having your loop of recycling closer, just like when people say buy local for food.
Yeah.
It's the same concept. If you can buy local, it just makes everything better.
It does, and from a business standpoint, it's better. From an ecological standpoint, it's better, and in a microeconomic standpoint, it's a lot better too. So
absolutely.
I think that's you love to have those relationships and those partnerships with people.
Even if you bother me when I'm weeding in my front yard every weekend.
Too, yes.
Even if you do that, that's a good relationship. Love it. So talk to me a little bit about, before we started, you were talking just about the people here and how that's so important to you, because really in the end, we actually know a lot of the same people, and when you're embedded in a community and when you have the ability to help drive success for a company that can employ so many people in that community, just talk about how that's important to you and some of the advantages that you were able to go back through your history and bring along some of the same people that have helped drive success here for so long.
Yes. So when we came back, when the offer was made to come back and start with at the time CMX SA, now SA Alloys, one of the stipulations was that I wanted my team back, and you need a good team to make a good product and to do it efficiently, reliably, and get it to the customer without any issues. And we got to bring back a lot of great people. I got to bring back my team, foundry manager, office manager, sales, lab, 2 foundry supervisors, and then quite a few of the employees as well that helped with running the furnaces, keeping our bag houses running. sorting scrap metal, running our presses to prepare it for the electric furnaces. It couldn't have been done without those people.
Mm-hmm.
It just couldn't be. The amount of knowledge, the amount that everybody knows in their specific areas, you can't replace that.
Absolutely.
Or if you do replace that, you need very good training, and that's
right.
what our team has here. They're trained. We're all a younger group of people. We had 10, 15 years in the industry with Colonial. We built our knowledge off of 75 years of experience. And it's made us better for it. And we're changing things a little bit. We're
sure.
Processes and
progress.
Yeah, and progressing. But without the building blocks, that's not possible.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to bring the people back that can make you look like all stars. I mean, the company couldn't be where it's at today without the individuals. And we all have a common vision. We all do whatever it takes to get it done. I mean, I have foundry employees that they come in at 1, 2, 3 in the morning.
When you're
doesn't
running,
matter. Yeah, it doesn't
when you're
matter.
busy running, they're in here working.
That's
awesome.
No, but they are. They're here.
That's great.
And half the time you don't have to even ask them. I mean, when you have great employees that see the vision and are part of the team, everything just goes great. I mean,
And it's funny because even here, most places say, people are our most valued resource. To beat the valued resources in dollars that you have on the ground here is hard, but people still, even here, with these high values, are the most valuable thing you can have.
Absolutely.
Because it's nothing without people.
It's nothing.
It's nothing. None of this gets done correctly without people. And same at our facility.
No, and you lose money or you're out of business.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and that's the struggle of finding good people and trying to bring some new people in now that in today's, I guess,
right.
Labor markets that are out here. But we weed through them. We find some really great people. We have them join the team, and
well,
the ones that love it are here.
You've built a culture that helps perpetuate that, and that's what we're looking to do as well. Finally, we've thanks for the tour you gave us of the furnaces, which are awesome. Talk about what you have in place here, electric versus other ways of generating power.
Yep.
And some initiatives you could see in the future that could be a little more green as an industry as we all continue to progress. Like you said earlier, because the fact that we're just recycling makes us green, but also some of our processes have changed and probably will change.
Yes.
What do you see?
So, well, right now we actually have a very large project going on where we're putting 2 large bag houses on top of our roof of the plant as well for dust collection, mitigation, keeping the air clean for the employees, making sure dirt, dust does not escape through the doors, crevices, windows, whatever, through the plant. So we have that going on. We do rely very heavily on electricity, especially for our electric induction furnaces. Since we're a startup, we haven't had any, we've been increasing volumes monthly. We haven't had anything steady, but one thing we've done in the past with Colonial was being on the power demand response systems for the power grid.
Right.
And we're looking at it, but again, I need a little bit of stability to see what kind of numbers and curtailment, what we have to look at there. Right now, month to month, we just increase, the electricity consumption because we're still increasing volumes monthly. But that's one thing that we're looking at. Colonial had put a new burner in one of our large rotary furnaces, which is drastically different than the other 3 burners. It's a oxy gas burner, more oxygen, less natural gas, burns hotter, burns more efficiently, less effluent effectively, and quicker melt time as well. So we have one of those, and we'll probably be looking at it, replacing two more of those in the future here, without a doubt. Also because the previous burners are gas oxy, so it's a more natural gas, less oxygen, but they're also older, and comes a time when you just have to replace it and get some equipment that they still make parts for, and so you can service it. You're talking,
and you're, as you know, because you're from a company that has a scrap background. As you know, having equipment that parts are no longer available for happens in the scrap business.
It does.
Quite often because we're running it into the ground.
That's what we do.
That's how we can make it. That's how we stay open.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we're on the same page there, buddy.
Yeah, we are. You run it till it doesn't run anymore. But
what do you see with all the incentives to just build out green, build out Made in America? Just as a wrap up, what do you see next year for our industry, your business, demand wise? What do you see out there? Without pinning you down to anything, general terms, just like all the experts do, and you can never tag them.
Yeah, there we go.
That's what we want.
You know, I don't know. As far as building out building America, as far as parts, you know, you see a large demand back in the U.S. right now, at least for production and manufacturing. I hope that stays. You know, especially with some of the politics, you know, that they've been putting some tariffs and everything in place. The American economy right now at this point is booming right now, at least in the manufacturing sector for sure. And I think that's going to continue to increase, especially with, you know, the Teslas and everybody out there that's, you know, I know they're buying American-made wire from Burtech in, you know, New Holland, and that's a large contract for them. You know, there's a lot of technology that's more copper-based, more metal-based, and going back to that again. And I think that in our industry, that's going to be great. I mean, absolutely. I think that, you know, the fast market says it could be a copper, you know, shortage to the point of where they need to mine more copper. You know, even though everything that, you know, 70 to 80% of it is still, you know, recycled, and you know, from when it was mined initially. So, you know, it looks like the demand for the metal industry is going to be very strong. And I think industry in general around that, you know, Made in America should remain strong as well.
Absolutely. Well, we'll save the tape just in case. But no, I have to feel optimistic now. And like you said, the initiatives are all drawing in the same directions. Nickel for batteries. I mean, everything you would think is kind of coming together for that.
Yes, it appears to be. It surely does.
Well, hopefully that's the case. Thanks again for your time. This has been awesome. We're going to have to do a second one to get to all the other questions I couldn't get to. So, great. Appreciate the time, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Dan.
Thank you much for everything. And we hope everyone enjoyed this SahdCast. Take care.